There is a clay that costs $2 a bag and seals any water leak permanently. Not temporarily, not for a season, permanently. It swells to 15 times its own volume the instant water touches it. It forms a barrier so dense that water passes through it roughly 1 billion times slower than it moves through ordinary sand. The United States Department of Agriculture published an official engineering standard for using it. Sweden and Finland chose this exact clay to contain nuclear waste for 100,000 years. Indigenous peoples near the Missouri River were already using it before Europeans arrived. Ancient builders sealed cisterns with it over 4,000 years ago. It bonds to itself, fills its own cracks, and gets stronger every single time it gets wet. $2 worth of powder mixed with soil in your backyard. Then someone in a corporate boardroom did the math. The global waterproofing industry generates over $75 billion a year. Leaking basements and cracked foundations are the reason homeowners spend $5,000 to $10,000 on a single repair visit. A $2 clay that eliminates water intrusion permanently is not a product to celebrate. It is a threat to contain. They did not stop using it because it failed. They stopped telling you about it because it worked too well. This is the story of bentonite clay, the ancient leak killer that governments trust and contractors buried. If these stories matter to you, the subscribe button and the bell are the best way to make sure this knowledge survives. Here we open the vaults, the industry locked shut. Now, let me take you back to where this begins. Over 4,000 years before the first plumbing company ever opened, builders in ancient Israel carved a massive cistern from solid rock at a site called Ai. They lined the walls with stones and sealed every joint with packed clay. Water stayed inside for generations without a single drop of modern technology. Mesopotamian engineers used clay to waterproof the canals that fed entire civilizations along the Tigris and Euphrates. Roman builders developed hydraulic waterproofing systems to seal aqueducts carrying water across hundreds of miles. Every civilization that stored water arrived at the same conclusion independently. Clay swells, clay seals, clay holds. Fast forward to 1898 in Wyoming. A geology professor named Wilbur Knight discovered massive deposits of an unusual volcanic ash clay near Rock River. The clay had been forming underground for tens of millions of years from ancient eruptions. Local pioneers already knew about it. They called the natural surface deposits soap holes because rainwater hitting the clay turned the ground into a slippery waterproof barrier that nothing could penetrate. Knight named the mineral bentonite after Fort Benton, Montana. Laboratory testing revealed something extraordinary. When water contacts this clay, microscopic platelets just 1 nanometer thick absorb moisture into their crystal structure and expand to 15 times their original volume. The swollen clay forms a seal so tight that peer-reviewed studies measured its permeability at 1 billion times lower than sand. And here's the property that changes everything. If the clay cracks, incoming water triggers localized swelling that fills the gap automatically. The barrier heals itself. Researchers have documented self-healing across punctures up to 3 centimeters wide. No synthetic waterproofing material on Earth can do that. But stay with me, because the military and nuclear science behind this clay is about to make the waterproofing industry very uncomfortable. By the 1930s, the Civilian Conservation Corps was building dams across South Dakota using bentonite as the primary sealant. The United States Department of Agriculture wrote an official standard, Code 521C, specifically for sealing ponds and reservoirs with this clay. Government engineers trusted $2 clay over every commercial alternative available. Then the nuclear industry took it even further. When Sweden needed to contain spent nuclear fuel for 100,000 years underground, it evaluated every synthetic barrier on Earth. They chose bentonite. Their Forsmark repository, now under construction 500 meters deep in granite that is 1.9 billion years old, surrounds every radioactive canister with compacted Wyoming bentonite. Finland built the world's first operational deep geological repository and completed successful trials in early 2025. An 18-year underground experiment in Switzerland tested bentonite barrier performance continuously and confirmed the clay maintained its seal the entire time. The most demanding containment challenge in engineering history relies on the same $2 clay sitting in farm supply stores right now. So why has nobody told you this? Because the economics demand your ignorance. One company, Minerals Technologies, acquired the dominant bentonite processor for $1.58 billion in 2014. They now control everything from the Wyoming mines to the branded waterproofing membranes installed on skyscrapers. A single roll of their branded membrane contains roughly 60 pounds of bentonite, worth about $3 to $6 at the mine. That same roll sells to contractors for $90 to $180. The raw clay represents roughly 1 to 3% of what homeowners actually pay. Franchise waterproofing companies operating across 36 states sell proprietary drainage systems for $4,000 to $8,000 per installation. The national average for professional basement waterproofing is $5,231. Meanwhile, bentonite injection specialists offer comparable results starting at $500. They take $2 worth of volcanic clay, sandwich it between fabric sheets, stamp a proprietary name on the package, and sell it back to you at 90 times the raw material cost. The chemistry is identical to what ancient builders packed into cisterns 45 centuries ago. The only difference is the label and the markup. Here's exactly what to do, and it is almost embarrassingly simple. For a leaking pond, spread granular sodium bentonite across the bottom at 1 to 2 pounds per square foot for clay soils and 4 to 6 pounds per square foot for sandy ground. Till it into the top 6 inches, compact it firmly, cover with clean soil, and refill. The United States Department of Agriculture publishes the complete procedure. For a foundation crack, expose the wall from the outside, pack granular bentonite against it, and backfill with soil. The clay needs earth pressure holding it in place to function. A 50-pound bag from a farm supply store costs $8 to $12 and treats a significant area. Compare that to the $5,000 quote the franchise company just handed you. Now, I need to be honest here. Bentonite is not a perfect solution for every leak. It loses its sealing power in salt water because dissolved minerals disrupt the swelling chemistry. It requires confinement pressure from soil to work, so slapping it on an interior basement wall is unreliable. It cannot fix the most common basement leak type, the joint where the floor meets the wall, because water pushes up from below. And if applied near existing drainage pipes, it can clog them and make things worse. Know the limitations before you start. But for the right job, pond sealing, exterior foundation repair, cistern lining, and retaining walls, this clay outperforms products costing 50 to 90 times more. $75 billion in waterproofing revenue depends on you never learning its name. $5,000 invoices depend on you believing that water intrusion requires proprietary systems only professionals can install. Branded membrane rolls depend on you never flipping the package over and reading that the active ingredient is the same volcanic clay your great-grandparents packed around their well casings every spring. Chemistry does not care about brand strategy. Bentonite does not expire, and Wyoming has never charged a licensing fee. If this vault changed how you look at that wet basement wall, that leaking pond, or that next contractor quote, then subscribe and share this video now. Every share puts a crack in the wall they spent billions building around knowledge that was never theirs to lock away. The next vault opens soon, and what is inside is the one thing every homeowner throws away that could cut their heating bill in half.